30 kilometers on bacon? Not quite. Rome's soldiers ran on grain, salt, and planning. Meat was occasional, logistics were daily. We're in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE. A legionary's ration tells you how far an army could move, and for how long. At the core was grain issued whole, usually wheat or spelt, plus vinegar to mix with water into Posca, a pinch of salt, and sometimes oil or wine. Preserved pork showed up when needed, not every day. Picture 8 men in a tent group, a contubernium, sharing a pack mule, a hand quern, and a basic cooking kit. The state gives you grain, not loaves. You grind it, bake it, and keep marching. Grain is dense in calories, keeps well, and works as porridge, bread, or hardtack. That's why the army loved it. How much grain per person? Ancient texts talk in scoops and baskets, not kilograms, so we speak in ranges. Conversions put a daily allowance roughly around 800 grams to 1 kilogram of grain, give or take, depending on era and source. Enough to power long marches, especially when paired with a little fat and cheese. A day's plate on campaign was simple. Morning, pulse, a thick cereal porridge. Midday, bread with olives or cheese. Evening, a grain-based stew, if fuel and time allowed. When moving fast, soldiers turned their ration into Buccellatum, hardtack, that could ride in a pouch and soften in water or stew. For drink, water when clean, otherwise Posca, water cut with wine vinegar. It's cheap, tangy, and safer than a sketchy well. Military writers mention vinegar allowances, and medical texts mix vinegar drinks to settle the stomach. The point wasn't gourmet taste, it was hydration and basic hygiene. Salt mattered too. It preserved meat, made food palatable, and replaced what sweat took away. When oil was issued, calories jumped and cooking got easier. Wine might appear in some periods or provinces. Exact volumes varied by unit, time, and place. What about meat? Mostly occasional, festive days, market buys, or a strap of salted pork on the road. One strict instruction from a later source boils the kit down to 3 words: bacon, hardtack, vinegar. Carry those and keep moving. If you graphed a typical campaign day, most calories came from cereals and legumes, a smaller slice from fats like oil or pork, and the rest from proteins, such as cheese or the odd meat portion. Not a steakhouse, a system. Seasons shaped the menu. In summer heat, more Posca days. In winter quarters, more bread, and the odd animal slaughtered for storage. Frontier posts show variety. Apples, herbs, even beer. Now the engine behind it all. Logistics. Rome built granaries, horrea, with raised, ventilated floors to keep sacks dry and cool. From provincial storehouses, grain moved by road, river, and sea to forts at the frontier. Disrupt these routes, and you starved a campaign, not a soldier. On the road, mules and wagons did the heavy lifting. A pack animal could carry a solid load day after day, terrain permitting. A contubernium's mule hauled the tent, tools, and the little hand mill. That quern is the quiet hero of the Roman march. It turns grain into edible energy anywhere, even in a ditch by the road. Prices and pay shifted across centuries, but we see price caps on wheat in the city when markets ran hot, and later imperial edicts trying to fix costs during inflation. A legionary's nominal pay rose over time, but stoppages for rations, clothing, and gear came off the top. The ledger mattered as much as the menu. What about bakeries? In permanent forts, yes. Ovens and storerooms show up in archaeology. On mobile campaign, the bakery was your squad hearth and your own hands. Let's clear a few myths. First, Roman soldiers ate meat every day. Evidence points to a cereal-heavy diet with meat as an occasional supplement or preserved reserve. Second, barley. Being put on barley shows up as a disciplinary downgrade, a cheaper, lower-status ration than wheat. Third, Posca as medicine. Vinegar water shows up in medical recipes, and writers praise vinegar's uses. But the military value was practical: safer water, steady hydration, calmer stomachs. Taste and taboo mattered. Roman military culture prized simplicity. Generals earned respect when they shared the same basic fare as the rank and file: bacon, cheese, and a swig of Posca. Luxury on the march was suspect. Endurance was a virtue. Why does this matter? Because rations set the marching radius. Whole grain is heavy, grinding takes time, and every pot of porridge needs fuel and water. Commanders balance speed against stomachs every day. Secure the granaries and the roads, and your army stays lean and mobile. Lose them, and your plan collapses. There's a social story too. Feeding legions pulled in farmers, millers, merchants, boatmen, muleteers, and bakers. Military demand spread rotary querns and baking know-how across the provinces. Supply lines didn't just feed soldiers, they braided economies together. So the takeaway is simple. Rome's armies weren't fueled by daily meat. They were powered by systems, measured in modi and mule loads, in the scrape of a quern and the tang of Posca. Grain, salt, vinegar, and planning kept the empire on the march.